Hi, everyone. Ashley Mailloux, Scott Shapiro here with the Daily Racing Forum, taking a look at the Tuesday race, the day for August 19th. It's a little bit of a treat, Scott, as we'll go to Parx. We'll look at the Smarty Jones, a $200,000 race here for the 3-year-olds on the main track, a mile and a 16th and a field of 7. But I would say it's a pretty good group when you see some of the bigger names in here. Tip Top Thomas, who exits a win in the Grade 3 Indiana Derby. We saw instant replay there. He didn't really fire his best effort, but also Hypness here for Kenny McPeek and Brian Hernandez Jr.
I don't think we get many better races on a Tuesday than we will this, a $200,000 race with, 3 to 4 bigger name or known name commodities kind of shipping in to Parx for this, a prep for the Pennsylvania Derby. So looking forward to it.
We'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projection here. And with this field of 7, in terms of how it's going to play out, I agree with this. I think Fact last time out obviously had some problems early, a little bit of a different configuration, his third racetrack in 3 starts. But him and Tip Top Thomas, they should be involved early. And I have to think that I also agree with the LP flag here attached to Instant Replay, who is a bit of a deep closer at times.
If that, the pace projector looks legitimate to me. I think the big question is, will it be fast early? Will one opt to kind of sit off the other? Because I agree with you. Luis Saez is coming in to ride Fact. Last time he just didn't really get out of the gate and into the race like I expect him to in here. And you have to assume Johnny V and Tip Top Thomas are going to go. That's what they're here for.
We'll dive right into it here with the field. The number 1 Instant Replay exits the Grade 3 Indiana Derby. And we'll show the replay a little bit later, Scott. For him, I don't think it's his best effort. I think when you look at his performance at Oaklawn in the Bathhouse Row, to me, that's still probably his best performance to date. In terms of the pace, there really wasn't one, and him and Caldera put on a show. Goes on to win the Texas Derby. But how do you assess last time out?
I think you can forgive it, Ashley. I think the Indiana Derby was a day where speed was really difficult or really tough in general. Tip Top Thomas put away the other speed that day, Master Controller, I believe, but that was a 48-1 long shot. It was tough to make up ground. Instant Replay did kind of recover quickly, but he stumbled a little bit. I just don't think anything about that day was his day. He's been given time, and like you, I noticed that late pace, and he might get a really good setup here.
The number 2 Fact we saw could be involved in the pace. This one for Will Walden, was able to graduate in that second career start, going the 1-turn mile at Churchill, and more recently rolled from off of it, a change in tactics. But I think if you look at that performance, it's good to see that he was able to overcome some obstacles in that race, Scott. Obviously not his best effort in Big Boat, much the best, but how do you assess him now stretching out? This is something that he hasn't done. He hasn't gone the 2 turns.
That's a big question, Ashley. Good, but I think the last race was more a positive than anything. I know he lost at even money, but that just wasn't his day. Like I mentioned, looking at the pace projector, he was serious in his first race, running into a monster in Big Truz, and then dominated a field in his next race. The question is pedigree. Mile and a 16th at Parx, maybe kind of a good way for Will Walden to kind of challenge things. This guy's been on fire over the last 90 days, 27%, 242 ROI.
The number 3, Tip Top Thomas, when we go back to his 2-year-old campaign, he caps it off with a 2nd place finish in the Grade 1 Champaign behind Chancer McPatrick. And this year, he needed 1 start to regroup. I have to think the sprint race, though, was a sort of strategic move by Todd Pletcher, and it set him up beautiful because in his 3rd start off the layoff, we saw him here roll to an impressive performance in basically gate-to-wire fashion in the Grade 3 Indiana Derby. And he was pretty game here, Scott. He still needed to hold off some of the late challengers, but it was nice to see him get the win.
Yeah, that's his 2nd time he's kind of won a tough battle, so it is good that he can win a fight. Plenty of horses don't like to do that. Part of me thinks last time was the time at least to have wagered on him. He was 5-2, a little bit higher than that. He's probably going to be the favorite in here, but he's got some upside still. But Todd Pletcher sending him here with the big day at Saratoga right around the horizon, right around the corner, is a little bit like, do we know how good this horse really is?
The number 4, Hypness, going to race with blinkers off for the first time in quite some time. 5 starts back is the last time he didn't wear blinkers. And this one for Kenny McPeek, obviously didn't fire last time out in the curl and just really never got running from the back of the pack. But I have to think, based on his debut, his connections had high hopes, Scott. They took some chances in the Rebel, Louisiana Derby, and didn't necessarily fire his best races. But I would say now, since they've gotten him away from those sorts of races, he was able to regroup quite nicely at Churchill.
Yeah, this is a tough horse to figure. He kind of surprised him despite a real good pedigree. Into Mischief speaks for himself. Dream Tree was a very productive Bob Baffert out west. And, he didn't take a lot of money. That was on the Lecomte undercard. Those are one of the big days, and those maiden races are packed. He had some excuses in those races you could make for him. And Kenny McPeak always spoke highly of him. No surprise there, I guess. That last race, though, was really dull. I don't know what to make of it, but I guess Kenny taking the blinkers off is kind of your hope. Brian Hernandez will be saving ground most of the way if possible.
Now we talked about kind of the shippers. We move towards the outside of the starting gate and more of the local horses. First off with the number 5, Happy Delusional for Lewis Linder. Second last time out, but that was back on June 3rd. They've taken some time to regroup. I find his form really hard to assess. I think when you look at his stakes races, probably his best was the Federico Tessio, where he was 4th behind Pay Billy in Just a Fair Shake. But off his last out, at least, I think he's going to need to show a lot more.
Yeah, he's got 5 seconds in 10 starts. So even against a little bit of lesser competition, he was struggling to win races. He is coming off back-to-back 80 buyers, which are his top, but he's run a 79, 80, 80. I don't know how much room he has to move forward. Paco Lopez is probably the most positive thing that I could say about a horse that should be one of the biggest, deservingly so, one of the longest shots on the board.
The number 6, Analog Jones, actually crossed under the spot for Monday at Parx. And I'll be honest, I didn't check before we started recording, Scott, to see where they opted for. And a horse that comes off of back-to-back wins. But the big question will be, can this one kind of replicate that form now stretching out in distance?
I have to say I didn't know. So you were a step ahead of me. I didn't check either. But 2 sprints to a route would be a positive angle here. 3rd off the layoff, just kind of an old school trainer move to have a horse ready for his best. But this is a horse that's kind of been doing his best running from off the pace in sprints. I don't know how well that's going to translate to any route at this point, but especially against this quality field.
I just looked. Analog Jones, a trainer scratch for Monday. So maybe we will see him
Big
here in
news.
the
All
Smarty
right.
Jones. And then rounding out the field is the 7, Light Forever, who's another one off back-to-back wins. They've been impressive. I felt like he's gotten the right setup in those races where he's just sort of been patient, 2-3 lengths off of it, been able to draw clear. I think out of the Parx horses, he's the main danger, if you want to call him that. He's a horse that could sneak in here at a price.
You stole the words from my mouth. I said of the 3 locals, I thought he was kind of the one that was legitimate. He should get that same trip that you spoke of. And it just seems like since he's gotten to Parx, or maybe it's the 2 turns on the dirt with blinkers, there's a lot you could say, but he has gotten better. It's obviously a big class test here, but he fits underneath to me in this race. All he needs is kind of the one or two of the other ones not to fire their best shot, and he's right there.
All right, that's the field of 7 for the Smarty Jones. As you said, Scott, a prep for the Pennsylvania Derby, which we will see in September. This is the Tuesday race of the day, so free pass performances on the DRF website. And we will move to top selections here. And you said Tip Top Thomas might be favored. That could possibly be true. I wonder how much love our pick is going to take in here, the number 1 Instant Replay. He disappointed last time out, but I think it's his form 2 and 3 back that might catch folks' eyes. And we'll see if we get 5-2.
I was kind of being hopeful because if he is 5-2, I'll probably dive in pretty hard because, yeah, we both come up with the same horse. We both see the race shape. Maybe if Fact and Tip Top Thomas don't bang heads early, it won't set up for him. But otherwise, he should have a really good punch in the lane here.
1, 2, 3, 7 for Scott. 1, 3, 2, 4 for me. It's the Smarty Jones this Tuesday out at Parx. Good luck.